Perfetto, Franco, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Welcome to the new Raffles talk. Talking about sustainability today means addressing an issue that is crucial not only for development, but also for our survival. In terms of life on Earth, we are insignificant entities, yet we believe we own our planet enough to destroy it as we see fit. All life on Earth is made up of 82% plants, 13% bacteria, 5% animals, insects, mushrooms, fishes, and other species, and only 0.01% humans. Numbers that tell us how irrelevant we are as numbers on the planet and how responsible we are instead with our life over the last 200 years for the impact of our behavior on the life of the planet. More than 7 billion and a half people in the world totally decide the future of all the other organisms. The destruction of the natural habitat of urban development, intensive livestock farming, pollution, and speculative cultivation are creating what many scientists consider the sixth mass extinction of the Earth in its 4 billion years of history, since almost half of animal life has been lost in the last half century, when human activity as the basis of Anthropocene has expanded dramatically. 200,000 years ago, we stood upright and began to scratch stones. Homo sapiens only 30,000 years ago established itself as the only human species, eliminating, for example, the Neanderthals and taking possession of the territory. Any numbers to really start worrying about? The Earth's carbon biomass is 550 gigatons. The animals are 2 gigatons. The mushrooms are 12 gigatons. The plants are 450 gigatons. More or less the 80% of biomass. And we, the overbearing species, are 0.06 gigatons, 0.01%. Do you not think that democratically and with these numbers, the power of the Earth should be handed over to the plants? But we don't care even if plants should be protected because they are the only way for us to breathe. For this reason, I wanted to introduce you Federico Manca today through numbers which make us realize what a precipice we're pushing ourselves into without realizing it. Sustainability is a magic word that imposes our right to survive. It is not only a key word. It is only way left for us to try to hold on something that prevents us from fading away. Through economics, through a new concept of industrial and commercial development. Federico Manca, an expert of sustainability, thank you, Federico, has accepted the invitation by Raffles Milano to talk to you about what is happening, and because without this last dramatic attention, we are simply condemned to the mass extinction. Thank you, Federico.
Thank you, Franco, for your inspiring introduction. Well, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm Federico Manca. I'm the founder of the Milano Green Forum. It's an event born to reflect basically on the relationship in urban context between institutions, companies, NGOs, and citizens around the theme of the environment. I started working on this project after more or less 10 years in the field of the environment consultancy. So in that period, I had the opportunity to see how companies were increasingly inserting environmental sustainability issues into their strategies. I will try today to give you a basic understanding of what sustainability means and why it's come to be crucial in our daily life and businesses. To do so, as Franco said, we just have to have a look to our past. So basically, we come back in 1684 when Thomas Savery invented the first steam engine, and everything from that period changed. This invention, of course, kick-started what we know as Industrial Revolution, which transformed our ability to make things, to think about things. Raw materials and energy were seemingly infinite, and labor was basically available for most of us. For the first time in history, the goods were mass-produced and people started to desire stuff. Well, how this look like today? Basically, we turn resources in a lot of number of products. So, since basically the Industrial Revolution, the rapid pace of technology progress has continued. Of course, the result of innovation means that many of us now have access to products from all over the world at also at affordable prices. Here you can see little graphics that explain what changed from the Industrial Revolution till today's. So you can easily see that an increasing higher value in population, in GDP, in water uses, etc. These products have brought many of us, of course, a level of material and comfort unimaginable of the previous generation. But we started to have also a big problem, waste. We produce a lot of waste compared to the past, and just to let you an example, every second the equivalent of one garbage truck of textile or other garbage is landfilled or burned every second. And this is crazy high. So people just think about this, especially the global footprint network. If you know, 4 days ago was the Italian Overshoot Day. But what is the Overshoot Day? The Overshoot Day marks the date when the humanity has finished the nature's budget of nature. So basically, after that day, the rest of the year, we maintaining our ecological deficit by drawing down local resources stocks and accumulating carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Just to let you understand, the global footprint network just count how many Earths we need to satisfy our demands and desire. And then the result is 1.5 Earths, but we have just one. So, this because we used to think about products because we take, make, and waste. This is the linear economy. This is our base economy. We take resources from the ground to make products, of course, which we use, and when we no longer want them or just we don't need it, we just throw it away. So this is the linear economy, and of course you understand that the linear economy has to change because there is no point in this economy. We must transform all the elements of the take, make, and waste system and think about how we manage resources, how we make and use products, how and what we do with the materials afterwards. Only then we can create a thriving economy and a sustainable development that can benefit everyone within the limits of our planet. This is another big issue. So the sustainable development. The sustainable development was taught around the 1987, yes. during the World Commission on the Environment and Development. And basically, at that time, they tried to describe what is a sustainable development. A sustainable development is a development, of course, that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. This is a great idea behind. After this, in 2015, the United Nations signed for the first time the Agenda 2030 with the SDG, so the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that the countries have to follow to respect the planet and preserve the nature. After this, in the same year, in December 2015, we all know the Paris Agreement on climate change. From that time, most of the countries insert the policy on sustainability inside their own decision. What we can do, basically. First of all, we have to change our mindset and find the ways of thinking. And just give you an example. If you imagine to be in a supermarket buying some groceries and you get given the option to choose a plastic or paper bag. In your opinion, which one do you choose if you want to do the right things by the environment? Well, I guess most of you will pick up the paper one, but the most important thing is why. Okay, start with it's brown. Therefore, it must be good for the environment. For sure, it's recyclable, it's reusable in some case, is biodegradable. But, well, people normally, when they are thinking about the plastic, basically all of them will think about something like this. Of course, we all know is absolutely terrible, and we should be avoiding at all expenses these kinds of environmental damage. But, well, the other side is that people probably don't think about this. This is the other end of the spectrum. So when we produce materials, when we buy stuff, we need to extract them from the environment, and we need a whole bunch of environmental impacts. Basically, what's happened is when we need to make complex choices, not choose plastic or paper bag, of course, humans like really simple solution, and so often ask for simple solution. So we need to find a new way to think about products, to think about how we can design them. This is an example. Probably we can pass through the make, consume, and enrich if we are talking about biological materials, or make, use, and return if we are talking about technical materials. In 2002, were formally published the eco-design principle. So basically, the people start to think how can design a new product with the eco sustainability inputs and principle. This can be found in ISO tier 14072. The following principle suggests you how to design and think about the new era of products. The first one is design out waste and pollution. Did you know that waste and pollution are largely a result of the way we design things? Okay, waste and pollution are not an accident, but of course are the consequences of the decision made at design stage, where more or less the 80% of the environmental impacts are determined. So, by changing our mindset to view waste as a design flow and harnessing new materials and technologies, we can basically ensure that waste and pollution are not created in the first place. I let you some examples. These two imaging. The first one probably you know is orange fiber. Two girls that imagine to prototype a fiber starting from orange waste. On the right side, we have another startup called Mogu. They start to think about bioproducts starting from mushroom. So they just produce stuff growing mushroom. Other example, on the left side, we have another leader that probably you know is Pignatex. So try to produce a eco-leader from pineapple waste. In the middle, you can find another startup called Rice House. It's a company that basically bases its work on an agent of waste from rice cultivation. So basically from nature to architecture without producing waste. The last one on the right is Favini. Favini is an Italian leading producer of graphics specialties, natural fiber based. They produce paper with starting from algae, fruits, nuts, leather, and so on. They produce paper basically from everything. The second one is to keep products and material in use. Well, what if we could build an economy that use things rather than use them up? Of course, we understand that we can't keep wasting resources. Products and materials must be kept in the economy. So we can design some products and components so they can be reused, repaired, remanufactured, but making things last forever is not the only solution. For example, when it comes to products like food or packaging, we should be able to get the materials back so they don't end up to fill. This opens the door to two big categories. The first one is the changing paradigm to products as a service. Product as a service is the concept of selling the services and outcomes a product can provide rather than the product itself. For example, everybody knows the car sharing is the services, but behind there is the production of cars. Another one on the left side is the Fairphone, so something that you can reuse and repair and remanufacture by your own. Is a big startup and that create a mobile phone, a smartphone, designed in order to be able to change and upgrade all the components by your own. So rethink the design of the product. The last one idea is to create a natural system. Well, nowadays, we think about how to protect the environment, but what if we could not only protect but actively improve the environment? As Franco says, in nature there is no concept of waste. Everything is food for something else. For example, a leaf that falls from a tree, of course, feeds the forest and the animals. Instead of simply trying to less harm, we should aim to do good by returning valuable nutrients to the soil and other ecosystems. We can enhance natural resources. In 1973, Schumacher tried to describe the term of natural capital. The natural capital is the world stock of natural resources, which include geology, soils, air, water, and all living organisms. Some of them assets provide people with free goods and services, often called ecosystem services. To Two of these, like clean water and fertile soil, underpin our economy and society, and those make human life possible, of course. It is an extension of the economic notion of capital to goods and services provided by the natural. So we have to prevent and use our engine, our ideas to understand what the nature can give us and what we can give back to the nature. So all this, it's called the circular economy. It's a new paradigm that allowed us to rethink and redesign the new way of products, the new way we make products, we use things within a planetary of boundaries. Shifting the system involves everyone and everything, businesses, governments, individuals. This is why we build the Milano Green Forum, to try to understand why all these actors now is going to this direction, going to the idea that the circular economy is the only way to produce less and produce smarter, produce without thinking that we need to produce waste. So basically, by designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and material in use and regenerating natural system, we can reinvent everything. So what we can do? With these two new ways of thinking, we can redesign the system and help basically our planet. So, Franco, probably I was too fast.
Thank you, Federico. It's not important that we are so long or short in our presentation, but it's important that we are able to transmit our knowledge, and for example, this message is so important for our designer. I'm thinking that without the concept of sustainability and without the idea of circular economy, we can't go ahead. We can't produce ideas, and is a dimension that we have to consider every day in our life as a designer. So what some years ago were only recommendation, good behaviors, good habits, now are the only way for get out from our dramatic condition. If we go ahead to this kind and volume of consumption, we can't have the possibility. For this reason, not only the entrepreneurs, but I'm thinking that the designer too, we are the protagonist of this revolution, and it's not only a role for entrepreneurs, but it's a role for designer in fashion, in product, in visual. We can use different materials to reduce our waste, because we must have an idea, a concept for our project, starting from the recycling, starting from save energy and save money and save the nature. I'm so worried about the behavior of these 7 billion and a half people around the earth. Not all are guilty about this, of course. How many billion people are in a very poor condition without the possibility to have good habits and have good behavior, because they live in a very poor condition without the satisfaction of the primary needs. Anyway, I'm thinking that we must go ahead with a very important revolution, because how much is the time that we have? 12 years, no more.
Yes.
before the final disaster. And it looks as many years ago at the starting point of green revolution and the green communication. We used this example about the perception of the danger. That if you put, it was an experiment that put two families in two very close houses, and a family in the garden watching the street, and the other one in the living room watching the TV. In the TV, the broadcaster transmit the same event that the other family were watching in the street. A big fire, a burning of the house in front of their house, and of course, leaving the event, they were so worried about the danger. But the people inside the home, in front of television, watching the same event in the street, they were not so worried because it's an event so far from their life. So every time that we have a news or something that is a recommendation about our life, look that, but it's a very far problem. It's not exactly in front of my building, in the school of my children. It's so far. More or less the same perception that we had for COVID-19.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
But people now starting to understand the big issue of the environment. It's not really popular, I understand, of course, but people try to understand and change their habits, their way to do. I'm thinking about the not eco materials, but eco products. People start to looking more and more for eco products. So basically, the healthcare, the textiles, they want every day more and more the attention of the company because they can understand and improve what they are looking for. So.
Yeah, I think that the big revolution will be through an idea also of convenience, because the economics can change the mentality. Of course, if it's convenient, change habit, people follow this. And of course, if you have less taxes, if you have less prices for buy materials, or if you save money, if you are able to understand and have new approaches to the waste and the consumption, could be that this is the way in the revolution. Because I'm worried that without these opportunities, these economical options is really different. I'm enough old to remember that when we started with the green movement in Italy, the message was only an ideological message, so far from the real life of people. So it was difficult to understand really the volume of the items and the value of this message. So I'm thinking that only through this new point of view, we can have really the change. You know that last December, one of the, I think it is not one, but is the most important investment fund, that is Blackstone. We spoke about it, right? Yeah. They sent a message to the investors that in the next year, now in 2020, could be interesting and convenient change investment in the green industry, instead stay on the petrol, on the mineral resources. And you know, with a letter, with a message, they had the opportunity to change completely the investment and the billion dollars in the green structures and infrastructures for the new years. So you can realize that how many movements and activities for change the opinion of the world has the same value or is so strong for change the thing instead this very small letter to the investors. This is a paradox, but I think that yes, the word is paradox, but if we go in a path with good behavior to peoples and communities, and at the same time we change completely point of view on the economy, we have the option for save the planet. Because the two things, economics and good habits and good behavior, must go together. Without, I'm thinking that we can ask, we can fight, we can go on the street with messages, but without finance, without investments, we have not the same weapons. What do you think?
Well, I absolutely agree with you, of course, and this is why I think we need to push in the same time companies and of course institutions to go more green. I mean, European Commission in the last 10 years just found a lot of startup or a lot of project in the green sector. So basically, I saw and I know that the sustainability and the green approach now become an asset, a strong asset for companies. So those who don't care about the environment or don't put an environmental strategy inside their own strategy is not anymore strategic or is not anymore appealing for the consumer. In the other side, of course, we need to push the single citizen that, of course, cannot understand or cannot touch with their hand a complex idea of sustainability, but need to find the sustainability day by day down the street. I think the municipality from one side and the NGOs is starting to helping in this way. Greta and the Fridays for Future is an example. Of course, they start from the bottom to the high level of politician. And this is, I guess, is a mix that is mandatory for us to try to save or just to do something new. There is another thing. We can't do things like before because we don't have enough materials to do things. So we need to invent another way of think products. And this is why I think creativity, technologies will be one of the most important assets for the single employee or in general for a company that want to reach more consumers and be a strong position in the market. This is what I think I mean.
Yes, I'm thinking that could be a new season for a pact between consumers and entrepreneurs and designers, because, for example, if you think in the past, these different roles so far one from the other one, they don't produce good product, but now we need new product. And so only through designer, entrepreneur, and scientist too, how much is important in this moment, for example, the material science for discover new resource and new idea for produce not only process. Our students, a lot of our students work in the fashion system, but also for product designer and also for visual designer too. The materials are so important for give a creative approach, for give a good answer. But I'm thinking that sustainability is a part of the background, not only for designer, and not only for entrepreneur. It's a part of the culture for go ahead in our future, because without we have no chance. So we have to study sustainability in the primary school too, because we have to start from the kids. Because a good behavior when you are a kid, you will be an adult with awareness and with a good approach to not only to the nature but with a good approach to the life. At the same, I have a question for you. For example, what do you think about? Do you remember the period of the greenwashing when the industries and the companies allowed to communicate their aim to the nature for protect and defend? I remember, for example, the gardens and the lakes in front of the headquarters of Shell Petroleum, and a lot of manuals and annual report for show to the rest of the world that you are against the pollution and you work every day for the life of people. What do you think is finished this period, or we have till a part of communication so close to all the idea of greenwashing?
Well, Frank, of course, greenwashing is a big issue, and of course, it will be continued so on. Of course, some companies that don't understand the possibilities and the strategies of sustainability will continue to greenwash their own company. But what I think is that the consumer changed in the past 20 years. So basically, it's not the same consumer. Now we have a consumer that try to inform itself very deeply, so can find more information compared to the past. So it's harder to greenwash a company, because the consumer want to know everything, want to know every single step of the value chain of the product, and he can understand every single step of this value chain, because it can be tracked from one side, and then through the communication and internet and something like this, he has access to the information more than before. So, of course, we will have always some companies will try to greenwash, but I guess companies is starting to understand the opportunity to be green.
I'm agree with this, but for example, I'm so provocative about this because I'm witness of this change, and I'm worried when we have some, for example, some natural and bio food chain that they have some canopy and signals and mark on the shop with bio, natural, but inside they have, for example, the boxes for vegetables and fruits in plastic. Because this is another paradox. You have some natural concept for new shop so appreciated by the consumer because Natura C, Biosebon, but inside they are using plastic box, and it is an hypocritical version of the boxes because they are printed with the texture of wood, but they are in plastic, and because it's so convenient for the logistic, because you can fold the box and you reduce and save space on the trucks. But this is a message, this is contradictory messages because you are selling a concept of nature and green and something that follow the supply chain, and you have microchips for identify the producer, the logistic field, and the quarter and the final shop, but you are selling through plastic boxes. So the revolution is so long.
Yes, you are opening a huge door, the regulation one.
Yeah.
So the problem is, of course, also the regulation behind the single choices. But just consider the word waste and the meaning of waste through different countries. What is waste for Italians is not waste for Germany, is not waste for other. Una domanda.
Yeah, we have a question.
We have a question. We consider.
Leggicela.
Scusami. Pubblica. No, sparita.
Leggicela tu.
If we consider designs as a creative process of finding for, how do you think design will change looking at sustainability? I can understand the points discussed here, and you can read this knowledge many times. But how about the creativity change? It's a complex question. Well, of course, it's a long process to change the creativity mind or mindset. But well, there are so many ways to be inspired by the nature, for example, or by the new technological approach. I mean, you can find new materials now that probably 10 years before you can't imagine, of course. And so I guess is a process that go hand by hand with the technological revolution and the new way of think waste. I think that a big issue for designers will be to find a way to use what we already have. So to imagine something starting from what we already have and what we already use. This is the big challenge, I guess, for designers in every sector, from fashion designers or product designers. I think will be like this.
Yeah, I'm agree with this, and I'm thinking that the new challenge is, for example, understand that through the new materials, instead to think before a clothes or an object and after think, it's better if I produce this in iron or in wood or in textile, change the point of view. With this material, how many things I can produce, starting from the materials, instead start from an idea on the table. And how many objects we have already, how many, every season, every new Salone del Mondo, more or less we have 1,000, 2,000 new chairs. We need so many chairs. Could be that we can redesign objects and reduce the number of objects for realize objects with new materials and new function. That we, for example, an elastic chair, I don't know, a new chair able to extend the function instead to stay on four legs and following the form that we know for a chair since the prehistorical age. Anyway, I'm thinking that, forgive my point of view to the question, in which way design can dispute and approach this new mentality on sustainability through a penetration in the new age with the discovery of materials, the opportunity of materials. And could be that, try for example, we have a revolution with bamboo wood. There are tribes, people, tradition, and community that they are using bamboo since centuries for all, for bottles, for clothes, for example, buildings, for tools. How many things, starting from a material that you can reinvent, and through designer, this material, old or new, for example, the new polymers or fibers, or the new chapter of graphene, and how many other materials that we can use. But ci sono ancora? Io sono fuori connessione.
Io ti vedo.
Sì, siete live.
Eccoci.
Another thing, Franco, another way probably that can change the designing process or the creativity process is to engage the consumer. I mean, if we think about the paradigm products as a service, probably we can insert also this kind of peculiarities inside new products. Why? Probably, for example, we can imagine, and I saw the couple of startups start in Netherlands. They just produce jeans, but they don't sell jeans, but they loan jeans. So this mentality, of course, is not proper in the design process, but is in a bigger stage of imagine what a product can do.
Yeah, and for example, I remember you remember a very important book written by Gunther Pauli some years ago, Svolte Epocali. There are so many examples of the new mentality that design is not only design an object or a book or a clothes. Design is think in a strategic way. So, for example, is design also, I won't remember this case because I was so impressed about this change. Gunther wrote about these two companies, one Japanese and the other one Sweden. The two companies went in Amazonia forest in different areas where they have the authorization. The Japanese company for cut the leaves and the top of the trees of the forest, and the Sweden company had the authorization to cut the rest of the same a kind of trees for wood for furniture. Okay, so they cut the double the double volume of trees for the same activity. Design has been to put in contact just with a call phone, put in contact the two companies and please go in the same week. You cut one tree and you collect the part of the tree, and the Japanese collect the leaves, and so they save half of the forest just with a conception of the new job and putting together the same needs of two companies. This is, for me, a good idea of sustainability because it's saving the resource. And how many other opportunities we can have with, for example, a register of the activity around the world. Companies that go in an area and they don't dispute all, but they waste a lot of natural resource, and someone is in another part of the world for the same reason. So this is important. For example, another problem of sustainability is, I think, the big problem that we have with the food, because you know that, for example, the water and food for meals are for us. We can support this cost for our life in the planet. So we have to change also the food. We have to change our approach to the food. It's the same problem, but we have to run. I'm thinking that we have no time.
This is true.
And so, which is your invitation, your recommendation to our young designers that are following us in this moment?
Well, of course, to understand better what sustainability means in two ways. One in their own study, and the other in their own living life. I mean, so of course it's true. There is no time, but I guess creativity from one side, the technological aspect from the other, could win this challenge. I'm optimist. Probably I'm young, so I need to be. I hope that people from one side will change their mentality of consumption, and from the other assume that you cannot live anymore without think about their own environment.
Sure. And I'm thinking, for example, I'm involved in the field of wine and production of wine, and so, for example, technology with the satellite and prospection from the space is so useful for save water, for put water and control better the soil and control better the plants without waste of water in the vinegar. And so only through technology we can have this result, saving money, saving water, for have a better product. So, for example, satellite and the control and check of territory and high ground through the satellite is a good support for sustainability. In this case, technology is a good tool for go ahead in this way.
Absolutely. In agriculture, technology is a must. I mean, and in the wine sector also, technologies. I know a company, a famous company that produce labels, starting to digitalize and use the blockchain to monitoring the value chain of wine. So the producer is safe from one side, that its own value chain is sustainable, and the consumer can check every single step, starting from the grape.
Yeah. Not only the wine, because now you can have, just in few months, you can have this kind of check also with vegetable box and supermarket and the fruits, and you can control who is the farmer, who is the producer. And so for the consumer, technology is a good weapon for go ahead. I'm thinking that without good behavior, we can't change nothing anyway. Okay. Thank you very much, Federico. It's been so interesting for us. We hope that you as our guest at school in the future. And thank you for all the students and public that is following our Raffles talk. So see you next time. We have Wednesday as guest Massimo Pittis, visual designer. Thank you very much to all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.